Hello, this is Big Jake reporting live with another story about a young Texas Ranger who saved his sister from making the biggest mistake of her life. Sit back and enjoy. Once there was a boy named Petey, 12, 11 years old. He he was the youngest among four sisters. One sister is 19, one is 17, one is 15, and the youngest sister is 13. He's always wanted to become a Texas Ranger. Luckily, his parents lived on a ranch. And they loved caring for horses and everything. And so he loved and so he would ride horses every day, pretend like he was a Texas Ranger. He lived and the part of Texas he lived in was Houston. One day, he was just having fun, minding his own business and everything, riding around on horses, and everything. And also taking cooking classes because he wants to be a chef when he grows up. And then, but he was always on bad terms with his family. He argued with his parents sometime, but mostly he argued with his sisters, because his sisters always got what they want. Every situation that the sisters did on him, changed the channel on him, took the last piece of cake when he already had it, doing all kinds of bad stuff, on them. The parents were always on the sister's side. He was not taking it anymore. So Peter just started arguing back at them. Just didn't listen to them or anything like that. One time Peter was just watching TV, watching his cooking shows and everything. But all of us, the sisters snatched the remote from him and just changed the channel on him. They told Peter was yelling at them, telling him to change it back and everything, but they were ignoring him. Finally, Peter just had enough and just jumped them. Started beating on his sisters. The sisters got the most of it because it was 4-1. The parents rushed down the stairs. Peter told his story first and everything. And then the girls told their story, which was a lie. And so but you should have seen the room. Everything was broken. The TV, the vases, everything. It was broken, shattered. Everyone was sent to their rooms, and forced to get into bed without any supper. The months went by. Peter was still not on speaking terms with his sisters or his parents. he mostly hung around with his friends, and his friends' parents treat him like family. They were he was a white kid, they were black. All of Peter's friends were black. And so and so he was gone. And so Peter went to go watch TV with his friends. And after they finished watching a cooking show, they watched a TV show of a certain Texas Ranger. I think you might know what I'm talking about. And so Peter decides to go off pretending to be a Texas Ranger chef. He looks up recipes and everything. And pretends to be a Texas Ranger fighting crime. So, one day when he came home from his friend's house, he saw the youngest of his older sisters with a boy. At first, he just ignores him. At first, he just ignores them. A few days go by. A few days go by. Peter was just getting out of the shower, and he hears his sister's boyfriend sounded like he was on the phone with another girl. So Peter turns on the recorder. And listens in on it. He found out that Peter suddenly hears that his sister's boyfriend is seeing another girl behind her back. But Peter just doesn't say nothing. He wants to get back at his sister for everything he did to him. He was still mad about that. However, so he then finds, and so Peter then finds out about his whole thing, about his whole plan. He was going to try to steal the ranch from the whole family. Once he marries the sister, he's gonna go behind her back and steal all the money, steal her identification, steal all the money, steal the ranch from the parents and everything. As he finished figuring that out, the parents come into Peter's room, sit down and they have a talk, saying that they're sorry for everything and explain their situation and everything. Peter says sorry, forgives them, and said he was sorry too. And then plays the recording. The parents were in disbelief. They were shocked. And so the parents tell the sister But the sister just doesn't believe him. The sister doesn't believe them and said that they were jealous and everything. I mean, they were spoiled. He was spoiled to the. I mean, she was spoiled to the core. And so, the P. And so, the sister. The sister. Her. Finds. And so the sister goes to see. Goes to see P. Goes to see Peter so she could tease him more. And then Peter plays him the record. Plays her the recording. The sister did not want to believe it. So she tried to block it out. And so Peter had to expose him another way. And so Peter soon found out that the boy was going to dump her at one of her school dances. At one of her school dances. And so Peter decides to go. And so Peter decides to volunteer to go with her to the school dance. And so the man wanted, and so the sister was waiting for him, but he wasn't showing up. So she decides to go inside. But all of a sudden, Peter stops him. Her, and tells her to peek through the window. All of a sudden, oh snap! Guess what she saw? She saw her boyfriend kissing another girl on the lips. And then she hears him say, hey, what his plans were to that girl. The girl was totally in shock. The sister was totally in shock. And just ran on home crying. Ying. After 2 hours of crying, the brother walks in, asks her if she was okay. She said no. Oh, she felt terrible. She said she felt terrible about not believing the parents in him, and terrible about everything she's done to him and everything. But I'll tell you what, said Peter. I found out they're gonna strike. Right, try to steal our bank accounts. He found out that I was listening in. And he knows, and he saw you listening too. So now he's gonna come here with a lot of his friends, and he's gonna have guns and everything. And so we need to hurry. So we need to prepare to fight him. The sister agrees to that. And so they prepare themselves, learning kung fu moves and everything. they thing and how to handle guns. And so and so finally the sister's ex-boyfriend shows up, and with a lot of gangs that have guns. But then he but then all of a sudden they had but then all of a sudden the brother springs the trap. Knocking he his sisters let go, and some big rock goes straight across the the ex-boyfriend's friend's hands, knocking all the guns out. Knocking all the guns out of their hands. The ex-boyfriend had an army. And so, Peter and the sisters had tranq pistols that tranquilized him. He fired at the armies. It tranquilized them and knocked them out. The ex-boyfriend was the only one left. Peter and him fought. The fight went back and forth. It was a crazy fight. Peter got knocked down, and the ex-boyfriend was about to shoot and kill him. But then the big sister jumps in the way of the bullet. It went right through her shoulder. The little brother Peter looked on in horror, and was really outraged. He kicked the gun out of the ex-boyfriend's hand and starts beating him up real badly, punching him in the face, punching him in the gut, everywhere. He grabbed the gun and shot both his legs. It was about to shoot him in the head, but just refused. He runs to the sister and says, "You okay? I'm sorry, brother. I should have believed you in the first place." Nice. The sister was rushed. "I should have believed you in the first place, and I never should have been teasing you like that. It's okay." The big sister was rushed to the hospital. And she was in a coma for a few weeks. And so, finally, the sister was better. The sister got better, and she was okay. She came home that day with a bandage over the part where the ex-boyfriend shot at. And finally, the battle between the sexes was over. Peter and his because that little incident brought Peter and his family closer. Now they do everything together. Together, they they go to amusement parks. They watch movies together. They work together. They play together. They laugh together. Together. They just have fun together now. Oh, oh. Peter had to sigh. Peter had saved his family and almost lost his sister. Or he thought he was going to lose his sister. But now, that whole thing brought him, his sisters, and his family even closer. The thing is, you always have to accept what you have. You can't, because at the end of the day, you can't pick your brother or your sister. Or if you have all sisters, and you're a brother, you have to accept you have to accept that. Same goes for brothers too. Girls, if you're the oldest of uh, 3 or 4 more brothers, you have to accept what you have. Bottom line. Well, that, my friends, is the story of the world's youngest Texas Ranger. The end. Hit subscribe if you want to hear more stories and songs. This is Big Jake signing off. Peace out.